It is time to talk with one of our favorite weekly guests. You hear her here every Wednesday, 3:20, Cleveland.com. Ashley Bastock of Cleveland.com joins us on the fan hotline right now. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Guys, it's so much more fun to do these when we're coming off of a win and have some different things to talk about, right?
It really is. And not just that, just my entire disposition. The weather stunk so bad that I needed a Browns win to just keep me vibrant in life. I will ask you, because we have to ask everybody, now that we've had the benefit of hindsight for a couple days, how do you think Shedeur graded out in his first NFL start?
I think the most promising thing to me about what Shedeur did was generate explosive plays. In one start, he now has the 3 longest offensive plays that this offense has produced this season. So that is, to me, just so clearly what they were missing, and that alone warranted him keeping the starting job for right now, in my opinion, because the Browns just haven't been able to push the ball down the field this year. And really, I would argue that goes back to last year when they had to move away from Jameis Winston because he was turning the football over too much. So I feel like if I had to put a letter grade on it, I would give it a solid B right now. He didn't do anything too incorrectly. He got the ball down the field. He did enough to win the football game. So I think that's weighted higher in that letter grade there. But I think there's still work to be done. And, the Browns and Shedeur have talked about that. And I think it's kind of that survive and advance mindset. You have to go week to week, keep adding more into the playbook, adding more into his responsibilities, and go from there. But again, the fact that it was enough to get a win, and he's the first rookie to get a win post 99 in his first start, that's all promising to me right now.
Should Dillon Gabriel be crying in his electrolyte martini right now? Or do you think he's just thinking to himself, one bad week with Shedeur and I'm back in there?
Yeah, I don't think there's a reason to cry into the electrolyte martinis. Look, I really am curious just with the number of games left, 6 games, that's a long time. Anything can happen in 6 games. And, I wouldn't be surprised in theory if they do want more even sample sizes on these guys, or look, if turning the football over becomes a problem for Shedeur, which I don't know how risky that is going to be with him because obviously his accuracy is what he's so good with. So I'll be curious to see if they do want to go back to Dillon at some point and just get a larger sample size on him. But for right now, I think this opportunity is Shedeur Sanders's, and it's his to hold on to make the most of, or it's his to lose. So kind of a similar position that Dillon Gabriel was in before he got the concussion. And now Shedeur has to do everything he can to show the Browns, what he said in that pregame broadcast to CBS. He wants to show them that he's the guy they've been looking for. And I think he has to play clean games from here on out and do everything he can to keep that job for sure.
So moving to another big storyline on offense, last Wednesday when he had you, we were talking about Jeudy speaking about 2 words per answer. He goes out, had a couple things happen on Sunday, but didn't light the box score up by any means. This week we got about, 3 to 4 words per answer from Jerry. I guess as the situation has evolved, do we have any new information about where Jerry is and how salvageable this is with his apparent frustration with the Browns?
Yeah, I actually think that Jerry was more himself today. And from everything I've gathered and from what Jerry said today, it sounds like what happened last week was more related to something off the field. And today he said, I am a football player, but that's not the only part of my life, when he got asked directly about that short press conference last week. So that to me just kind of confirmed what we had been hearing. So look, I think obviously the other big point to come out of today was him talking about that fumble. That was the one catch he made in that game. One other target he had was an interception. One was an overthrow. But he makes a 39-yard catch and has that fumble because he doesn't notice Jeremy Chin behind him ready to peanut punch the football out. And he did talk about today what happened on that play and that he was trying to make a move. He thought he was going to have a chance to score a touchdown. I just rewatched it before I got on with you guys, and you do see that little sort of skip he takes looks like he's ready to cut back inside. So, I mean, I think things are salvageable this season for Jerry Jeudy. I think it's just going to take a couple of good games to get things rolling. And hopefully he's helped along by the fact that Shedeur was able to generate some of those explosives in the passing game, because for me on Sunday, so much of their success came back to him completing that 52-yard pass to Isaiah Bond early. I thought it forced the Raiders to play, to keep the Raiders defense honest, I should say. And to me, it's a direct correlation between that play happening and then later in the game, Dillon Sampson getting that little screen pass, because then those plays are open and he turns it into a 66-yard score. So I think that's when you see complementary things happening on the offense. And that to me is what is going to help Jerry Jeudy, help him get open, help him get looks downfield. But yeah, I mean, those guys are going to have to get their chemistry going. I think it's not just important for Jerry, but it's important for Shedeur Sanders to have his wide receiver one producing at a level that he quite honestly has not produced at yet this year.
Ashley, I have a new selling point for Myles Garrett. I feel like last offseason when he wanted out, the Browns could have offered nothing in return. There was no, hey, stay with us because of reasons X, Y, or Z. We just didn't have anything on the table. Now, at this point, because of the sacks that he's able to get, and it's because of the defensive line that he's able to play with, the Browns can legitimately offer up to him this offseason if he tries to do the same type of thing. All right. You just got to break the sack record, potentially. You just got to have everyone tell you how great you are for the entire season based off of that production. The Bills can't promise you that. The Eagles can't promise you that. The Lions can't promise you that. Are the Browns carving out a nice selling point for Myles here?
I think they are. I honestly, quite frankly, think they had that last year in the fact of him winning Defensive Player of the Year in 2023. Look, he had a good season that year. I think we're realizing this year that there was more in the tank for him that he had in terms of his individual production, because that season when he won, the Browns really went to bat for him and talked at length, everyone in interviews, Kevin Stefanski, Jim Schwartz, they let Myles go at it. In terms of why he was deserving. And even though his sack production trailed off, they made sure to keep hammering that point home, and I do think it helped him. So I would say they kind of had that last.
But there's a difference between 14 sacks and then 27 sacks.
There is. From the production standpoint, there is a difference. And I think, again, we are seeing this different level unlocked to him in this scheme. And they've finally, for the first time, the last 3 years, they've been trying everything to get interior production, and they've finally found it. And really, Malik Collins is actually the key to that for me, because I think Mason Graham is coming along really nicely. I think a big part of that is because of Malik, and then both of those guys chasing down quarterbacks is helping Myles. So definitely a selling point with this D-line and this system and the attack style that they finally managed to get up and down that unit and not just have Myles Garrett be the only guy and then there's everyone else and no one's even getting 5 sacks. So that to me is a big selling point for sure.
Ashley, how real is the potential noise between Tommy Reese and the UCLA head coaching job? And what if he did go back to the college game, what would that tell you about maybe where the Browns stand here with 6 games to go in the season?
That's an interesting question because, we know Tommy Reese's name was popping up last year, including for the North Carolina job that obviously went to Bill Belichick. So I think for me, these rumors or, if Tommy Reese interviews for anything, that just goes to show less about the Browns and more so about what people in football think of Tommy Reese. He's one of these younger offensive minds that I think both college programs and, maybe even potentially NFL head coaching jobs that he's going to be appealing because that's just the trend of the game right now, right? Especially in the NFL, you see teams taking chances on younger offensive-minded head coaches all the time. But as far as the college games go, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get interest. And obviously he's worked and called plays at some of the biggest college programs, both at Notre Dame and Alabama. Obviously played for Notre Dame. It just wouldn't be shocking to me for him to get interest, to get interviews, to get phone calls, all of those things, because I do think people in the college game still think very highly of him. But Look, I think it doesn't necessarily mean anything about the state of the Browns. I think it's just like a guy making a career move, if that would even transpire. That's kind of my read on it.
Did the Browns look good just because they played the Raiders, or do you think there's really something to this in the 49ers game we have a real chance?
That is a both, I guess, kind of answer from me, because I think some of what they did well is because the Raiders are a bad football team. That being said, I do think the explosive plays Shedeur was able to generate were legit. I obviously think this defense is legit. I've thought it is a Super Bowl caliber defense. They proved it again because they did what they were supposed to do against a really bad offensive line. They hit the quarterback 20 times. They got 10 sacks. Myles had another multi-sack game. So I think those things are very real. The other thing I think is real is the history between Jim Schwartz and Kyle Shanahan. I was sitting here today. I remembered that being a big talking point in 2023, the last time these two teams played. And now, after that game, Jim Schwartz's defenses, in any context, so that's him as like a coordinator or head coach, and Kyle Shanahan as a coordinator or head coach, Jim Schwartz is 8-1 against Kyle Shanahan defenses. So I do think, or Kyle Shanahan offenses, excuse me. So that is real to me. And like, I just have this feeling kind of that this could be like that 2023 game where it's weird. The weather's not supposed to be great. Obviously the 49ers don't have Nick Bosa. They don't have Fred Warner. They're really good linebackers. So there's some personnel things going on with them, but they're still an 8-4 football team. So I think this game is going to come down to what a Robert Saleh defense actually can do against Shedeur Sanders and this offense if they're going to be able to throw it off. But the Jim Schwartz performance against Kyle Shanahan is always interesting to me when the Browns play the 49ers these last handful of years.
All right, Ashley, before we go, what's the best Thanksgiving main protein option?
The best Thanksgiving main protein option. I mean, I got to go with turkey. I don't really like ham. This is like a whole thing in my family. Like, everyone knows it. So I don't like ham, and I know that's an unpopular take. So I guess I got to go with turkey, and you can tell me I'm wrong.
We're not going to do that. No. We're pretty open
choice
on this show.
Yeah.
Whether it's turkey, ham, oh my gosh, I was leaving one earlier, brisket, or some prime rib.
What would you take off the table, though? Like, I think cranberry sauce getting rolled out once a year seems kind of right for cranberry sauce. I think stuffing should get more than a once a year rollout. Like, what are you taking off the table?
What am I taking off the table? I would take cranberry sauce off the table because I quite honestly don't even eat it. So
right there with
whatever.
you. Yeah.
Whatever. I won't miss it. My hot take is, though, too, like, give me a good, like, roast chicken over a turkey, though. Like, 90% of the time, I feel like that's the move. So
roast chicken with like
I'm
a good
waiting
brine.
for that idea. Yeah,
that's a win.
It's better than turkey, right?
I'm just thinking of one of those like $5 chickens from Walmart.
Ashley just loves the rotisserie chicken.
They get the rotisserie chicken, they just plop it down. I'm like, here's your Thanksgiving meal. Yeah.
Good. Why not? Just give me a rotisserie chicken.
Ashley, great stuff. Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for being with us all football season long.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Ashley Bastock there, Cleveland.com and the Fan Hotline.